Hello there, my name is Kevin Dove. I'm here at Hartlepool College of Further Education. I'm one of the lecturers within Hospitality and Catering, and we're working in partnership with Hartlepool Borough Council, and we're going to show you some nice dishes that you can prepare and cook for yourselves at home today. So we're going to start with preparing spaghetti and meatballs. We're going to do a nice watermelon and feta salad, and we're going to do some nice cupcakes that you'll be able to enjoy at home as well. Right guys, so what we'll do this morning then is we're going to make some carrot cake cupcakes, okay, with cream cheese frosting. You might have seen some of them on social media, what the group did yesterday, okay. We're going to do spaghetti and meatballs, okay, homemade, reduced salt, make our own tomato ragu, or what we call, we call it ragu, people call it tomato sauce. And then we're going to do a nice sort of fresh, as we're getting towards that sort of summer season as well, even though it's just early spring. We're going to do a watermelon and feta salad with rocket salad, okay? So we get the sweetness, we get our obviously dairy intake from the cheese, we get our fruit, and we get some rocket salad in there to give it a little bit of a peppery taste, okay? So for our carrot cake cupcakes to start with, what we'll need to do is we'll need to have our soft brown sugar, okay? We'll need to crack our eggs into the bowl. So this recipe doesn't contain butter, okay? It's done with an emulsion of sugar, oil, and the eggs, okay? So we have our 2 full eggs and we have our rapeseed oil, okay? Rapeseed oil is really good again to use because it's obviously a low calorie intake compared to some other oils. Also, it's not as strong as in flavour compared when like olive oil as an example. So we have our oil in there as well. So we'll just put that there for a moment. And then what we do is we just need to give this a simple mix. So today again, like we normally would guys, it's all about having different tasks on the go at the same time, isn't it? So we're going to get our cupcakes in the oven while we're then doing our meatball dish, okay? So what we're going to do as well guys, we're going to think about sort of the healthy eating approach. So I'm not even going to fry the meatballs off today. We're going to obviously cook them in the oven. So just getting back to the cupcake mix, we can see now that the oil, the eggs and the sugar have done what we call emulsified, okay? Because something such as oil, when we mix it with this liquid, it shouldn't actually come together, but it does just because of the mixing process. Then what we do is we take our grated carrot, 200 grams, okay? So we take our grated carrot into the bowl, just like that, okay? So these dishes are absolutely brilliant. Obviously you get a nice indulgent cake and you also get one of your 5 a day in there as well. So that's a nice perk to it. So we mix our grated carrot, and then in this bowl here we've got our self-raising flour. We need to use self-raising flour to make those cakes nice and light. We also use bicarbonate of soda, okay, and the bicarbonate of soda just gives it a little bit more of a rise, a little bit of a kick, because it's quite a wet cake mixture, okay. Baking powder wouldn't have the same impact, so it's bicarbonate of soda, okay. And then we've got some mixed spice in there, okay. The mixed spice again, all for flavour and all for colour. So we add these dry ingredients into the bowl and we give these a good mix, okay? See if we can do it without wearing it, okay? And then this mixture comes together. And then by the end of the day, guys, obviously if you were following the social media yesterday, you know what standard that we're going to look for with these, okay? You've seen the way they were piped and they had the Biscoff caramel and the biscuit on the top. Okay, so did we all see that yesterday on social media? No? So as you can see guys, now just quick couple of minutes of mixing, we've now got a wonderful mixture, okay? So what we'll do next is we'll take our little tray, and what these are is these are muffin cases, okay? Now you can use cupcake cases, but they tend to be a little bit smaller, don't they? They have like lower sides. Whereas because the mix rises quite a bit, it's always best to use muffin cases, or you just make them smaller if you don't have that access to muffin cases. And then the idea is we're just going to put this half full. Now you're going to have mixture left over, okay? So what I like to do at that point is the mixture will go into a loaf tin, okay? And then we'll make some actual carrot, like loaf cakes as well, okay? So we're going to make our muffins and then we'll make our loaves as well. So we're going to take our mixture just like this. Now these go in the oven 140 degrees, okay? and they take about 20 to 25 minutes. Okay, just get rid of that spoon. So how would we check if the cakes are cooked? Anyone tell me? Say that again? Absolutely, yes. So we'll just take like a skewer, put a skewer into the middle of the cake after sort of the 20-25 minute mark, and then obviously the skewer should come out nice and clean. One of the best things as well to do, guys, is obviously we know as being chefs is visually checking things as well, okay? And obviously don't be opening the oven door on someone else's, so think about your timings, okay? Make sure that you're thinking that can we get them all in together in the oven, or wait until someone's comes out. Okay, so then what we'll do, guys, spare mixture, like I said, we'll turn that into a carrot cake loaf shortly. Jack, if you just pop them in the oven for me. So those go in the oven now, and they take around 25 minutes, okay? So we can forget about those for the moment. So now we've done our first task, obviously, guys, we just have that quick organisation, clean down. So the carrot cakes are obviously in the oven. So just as if we would in our restaurant, okay, guys, we're getting ourselves organised, multitasking. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start with our meatballs and spaghetti, okay? So this dish itself's really good because everyone loves spaghetti and meatballs, don't they? Okay. Also, on another note, we're also thinking about meals that are entertaining, exciting, and also reduced fat, okay, reduced salt. So what we're going to do is we're going to make our own simple tomato sauce, tomato ragu. So what we'll do to start with is we'll get our shallot and our garlic, a little bit of oil, okay. Obviously we've got our knife, and we're just going to take the garlic clove, put it on its side and give it a gentle squash, okay. And that makes it so much easier to take off the skin. So nice and simple for those people who might not have sort of professional knife skills such as we do, okay. And then obviously we take our shallot, okay, baby shallot. These comes in quite large bags, and we can pick these up for around £1, and you can keep them in your fridge or your pantry, and they'll last for months, okay. So we take our shallot and we're just going to cut this in half, okay, keeping our fingers out of the way. We're going to take off all of the skin, keep it nice and simple, okay. You don't need to be able to dice an onion as an example, or a shallot to do this part. It's just about being able to peel it and do some simple preparation processes. Peeling off the first layers as an example, okay, just remove the skin. And then what we can do is we can just literally cut this however you want, but I like to do it quite nice and thin, okay, just because it'll cook faster and obviously it'll release more flavour. And if I was serving this to the children at home as an example, or the nephew or as an example, first thing he would say to me is, I don't like all the onions and the bits in there. So that would be something I would think about. So then we take our garlic, and again, simple knife skill, you could just put your hands over the top like that to get this as fine as you want it to do. Or if you have a blender, you might actually blitz all of this, entirely up to the individual. So then what we're going to do with that is we're going to put this into the pan. So just pop this into the pan with that little bit of rapeseed oil that I was using. Again, you can use different oils, you can use the low fat sprays, but we're just going to get that into the pan to just gently start cooking down. Now, while we're doing that, we're going to take our tagliatelle as well, okay? We're going to take our tagliatelle and start thinking about getting this cooked. So we've just got a pan of boiling water, okay? And we're just going to pop our tagliatelle, our little nests, into the water. Again, these bags of tagliatelle, you can normally get a couple of kilo for around £1 in the supermarket. So they're really good for nutritious meals and also volume, okay? So really good in that context. So if you're watching the budget as well as cooking healthy meals, I eat a lot of pasta with running and things like that. So we've got our pasta sauce started and we've got our tagliatelle cooking. What we also need to do is our meatballs. So we've just got our reduced fat minced beef, okay? And what we need to do with this is just shape this into meatballs, okay? So we're not going to put any salt in or any of this, okay? We're just going to literally shape these into little simple meatballs and put these on our tray, okay? So I think if we're going to do 2 portions, we'll probably give about 4 or 5 meatballs per dish. That sound enough? Yeah, so if we give them about 5 meatballs. And then obviously we can see that our sauce is cooking. We can see that our pasta's starting to bubble away. So at this point, if you're wanting to be organised, even if you're at work, you could prepare your meatballs on the morning, you know, and you could leave these already rolled in the fridge. And obviously when you've had tea on the evening, we are all guilty of making portions a little bit too big. Any leftover could be obviously taken to work for lunch the next day and reheated once. So we can obviously comply with food hygiene regulations as well. So we only eat reheating things once. And again, you can just see, guys, I'm not spending a lot of time sort of shaping these meatballs. You could spend more time and get these nice and round and pressed, but I'm just looking for that sort of rough textured simple meatball. And you could add flavourings to them and salt and seasonings, but I'm just relying on good old-fashioned quality minced beef here. We've got, like I say, a good quality supplier of meat, and we don't need to really do a lot to these, okay? So we'll take our meatballs just in the tray like that, okay, and we'll just pop these in the oven. Okay, so just give our hands a quick wash as well, because we don't want to obviously mix raw meat obviously with the different processes of cooking. So we can see that our pasta now is obviously boiling away, so just with a pair of tongs, just gently caress this and move it around, because obviously the starch in the pasta, it will all stick together, okay, and those nests, obviously they can hold their shape. We just want to break it up, and we're just checking that when that pasta's nearly cooked. Okay then, so back to our shallot and our garlic as well. We can see that that has gone nice and soft now, just starting to obviously coat the bottom of the pan and obviously sweating away. So we're looking for it all to be nice and soft but not brown at this point, okay? We're just wanting to release the flavours. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to add some basil. Now dried basil, fantastic herb, okay? You can obviously use fresh if obviously your budget wants to let you. Okay, you can buy the wonderful basil plant in the supermarket, and if you keep it on a windowsill at home, it will keep for weeks, and just keep picking the fresh leaves from it. Try not to buy the herbs where they're in a bag and they're already been cut at the bottom from the root. So if we then take some plum tomatoes, so good old-fashioned tin plum tomatoes, you can buy them chopped, you can buy them whole, you can buy the more expensive ones, but if you buy them where they're all chopped up and they're called passata or the blended, the more work that's been done to the tomato, the more it costs in price, okay? So the good old-fashioned plum tomatoes where they're whole in the liquid, you can pick them up for 29 pence a tin, okay? So something to think about with your budget again there. Tomato puree, okay, concentrate, obviously gives it a depth of flavour. Good quantity of it. Obviously if we add too much, it can make the sauce really, really bitter at this point, okay? So we've got some tomato puree in there. We're just going to give this a mix with a wooden spoon, and then we're just going to add some of our plum tomatoes, okay? And you can just see as this comes out, there's still big lumps of tomato in there, okay? But the idea is we're going to get this tomato sauce on, and we want to be able to have enough to coat the actual pasta. And then just use your wooden spoon to obviously break these down. We don't need to spend a lot of time chopping them on boards and things like that, okay? And then we can just literally get this pasta sauce on the go and just press them with your wooden spoon. And at this point, you know, I do like to add just the tiniest pinch of salt, okay? We do want to draw flavour out of it. Other alternatives, you could put a drop of white wine vinegar in there as an example. White wine vinegar really enhances the flavour of tomato, okay? So that would be another way if you didn't want to put any salt in whatsoever. So I'm purely relying on that tiny pinch of seasoning, the basil, the garlic, the shallot, and the tin plum tomatoes, okay? So that's just gently cooking away now. Our pasta, we're looking to see when this is all nice and cooked. So at the moment it's still a little bit hard, still a little bit raw, okay? So we've got those ready at this point. And then what we're looking for now is for our pasta sauce to reduce. We're waiting a couple of minutes on our meatballs to obviously cook in the oven, and we're going to refresh our pasta under cold water shortly, okay? So what we'll do at this point, guys, is if you want to get yourselves organised with your mise en place, okay? So if you get your cupcakes mixes started and then start getting organised for the pasta dish. At 5 minutes, we'll come back around and finish this pasta dish off. Okay, guys? So cupcakes, obviously check them with a skewer, make sure it comes out nice and clean, okay? And then we're just going to put these on our cooling rack. We need these to be completely cold before we put any type of topping on them, okay? What will happen if we put cream cheese on the top of a hot cake? Yeah, exactly, so it'll look like Patsy's cooking, so, okay? So, right guys, so cupcakes, 25 minutes, leave to one side to cool on a cooling rack, okay? So that part is done. Right then, we'll pick back up where we left off with our meatballs as well. So we've got our tomato ragu. As we can see, guys, even just looking in the pan, we can see by how much it's reduced, okay, by the sort of like the line around the pan. It's gone nice and thick, it's just gently simmering away, okay, nice and thick consistency. For some people now, you might like to blend it, as an example. You could even use a masher if you don't have an electric whisk at home, okay? So that's other options if you don't particularly like the textures of the sauce in there as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our meatballs out there, which you've had around, what, 10-15 minutes? 15 minutes probably on 140 degrees. So as you can see, guys, our lovely meatballs now, okay? So we're just going to add these to the sauce to just start picking up the flavour, okay? Just get those in there. So nice reduced fat minced beef, no added salt or anything like that. So we just get those into there like that and just coat them in the sauce, just like that. Don't they look amazing? And then what we'll do is, Chloe, could you pass me my tagliatelle just behind you? Okay, just bring the pan over the whole thing, okay? So the tagliatelle is obviously being rinsed under cold water just to remove the starch, and obviously it cools the pasta and stops it from overcooking as well. So what we can do now is we can just add our pasta straight from the colander just into the pan like that, okay? And then we just literally need to coat, okay? And you can do this with a slotted spoon, however you prefer, but we just literally need to coat the spaghetti, the tagliatelle, in the actual sauce. Pass in a pair of tongs, please, Callum. These ones are a bit annoying. Okay. So what we're doing now, guys, is we're just literally coating, thank you, coating the actual dish in the, coating the pasta in the sauce. And obviously you can give it a little bit of a shake or a toss as well, but obviously I suppose it's one of those things, don't try this at home unless you want to wear it or put it on the ceiling. But then what we can do, guys, is obviously once, I'm fortunate that I'm using induction hob, within sort of 30 seconds and that hot sauce, the pasta's reheated again, it's nice and hot. So simplest thing to do at this point will just be obviously taste a little bit of the pasta, check it's hot enough. And then what we can do is just literally take our pasta and get our serving bowls, okay? Depending on how many you're feeding, you could use smaller bowls and this would serve more, depends on if it's you and the kids, as an example. And then just literally do this from above. And if we do it from above, holding the pan as we're serving with the tongs, you find that you don't get as much mess on the worktop, okay? Less cleaning up, less washing up to do as we go. And then we can obviously give them be generous with your meatballs depending on how many portions. But this portion in here would probably do, you know, 3-4 good family portions depending on your daily intake. Okay, it depends if you're exercising and so on and so on. And then just use some of that sauce from the bottom to just coat the pasta, okay? And then again, just for a bit of presentation, let's just give them another meatball. It seems a shame not to be generous with the portions. And then we've just got our wonderful 2 portions of pasta dish, and I've just got a little bit of pea shoot, okay? So typical restaurant, we always have pea shoots in the fridges, okay? You could have a little bit of pea shoot on the top. And obviously, because we've thought about the fact that we're keeping this reduced salt content and fat content, we can just be a little bit indulgent with a little bit of Parmesan cheese on this, just to give it a natural seasoning and obviously enhance the flavour. Okay, guys, so there we go. We've got our 2 portions, and obviously I would have had enough for another portion there. 2 generous portions of meatballs with tagliatelle and a homemade tomato ragu. Okay, guys, so that's what we're going to work towards once we've done our cupcakes. All right, guys, if you want to crack back on. So obviously we're at different points now. You've got your cupcakes cooling, you've got your pasta dish on the go. We're going to do a nice fresh watermelon and feta salad, okay? Great dish, okay? Obviously you can do it with lots of different type of melon, different fruits. It even works really well with Parma ham as well, if you want like a salty meat on there, or some crispy cured bacon as an example. So what we'll do is we'll take our watermelon, okay, and you'll just simple plate whichever ones you've got at home, okay, and then we're just going to take our watermelon, and obviously I'm just going to take off the end part, and then we can just get rid of that for the time being, okay. And then it just gives us an idea of being able to cut this down into sections like that. Beautiful fruit, nice, and obviously good for hydration as well. So we'll just take a couple of nice pieces of this watermelon. In fact, that one I'll do for the time being. And what we can literally just do is we're just going to cut off the actual skin, so to speak. We only want obviously the nice sort of flesh of the actual watermelon. So just a nice simple way to break it down there, wasn't there? We don't need to try and cut it in our hand with dangerous knife cuts. Just trim it down into a piece and then obviously cut it by trimming it all around the sides. I'm quite old school. I quite like the seeds as well. So obviously everyone's got their own interpretation. You could take the seeds out if you want, but again, I quite like them, and I quite like them visually as part of the presentation. It just depends on sort of like the style of service that you're wanting to do with these. And again, you're just going to build this up and cut this into nice simple pieces, okay? And then again, cut it into nice chunks, okay? And obviously you guys can decide how you want to present your dish, or you might present it in a bowl at home, and that's entirely up to you, okay? And then what we can do is we can just take our nice pieces of the watermelon. I mean, look at the colour straight away, how it stands against sort of the dark crockery. So something to obviously think about. And then it depends on yourself, but obviously if you're thinking about your 5 a day, there's your watermelon, okay? And then what we can do is we're going to take this wonderful feta cheese, okay? So feta cheese, nice and crumbly, but at the same time got a natural little bit of bitterness and saltiness to it. And with that little crumble that it's got, okay, the cheese just works really well against the sweetness of the watermelon, okay? So again, guys, just some of the things we're doing today here, we're looking at sort of like the nutrition and the healthy side to it, but we're also looking at how different flavours and textures work together, okay? So if you ask yourself, have you ever heard of putting watermelon with cheese before? Okay, so the textures and flavours of that work really well together. And then on top of that, we've got some wonderful rocket salad. And for those people who like gardening as an example, this one is really good for growing into sort of like those hardy winter months. So even all the way up to October and the later parts of the year, you can actually sow rocket in little containers at home, however you want to do it. You can sow it now, okay? You don't need to have a garden. You can grow it in a pot or a plastic milk carton as an example with a little bit of compost. Doesn't need any sort of fancy nutrients. You can just grow it in the garden, okay? Really simple, good old-fashioned compost. And then what we can do with the rocket, okay, nice peppery flavour, nice salad to have, and you would just literally pick this from the garden, okay, and you would just pick the quantity that you needed every day, and every time you pick it, it stimulates growth, so you would literally get more growing every day. Now, for those who might have guests coming once the restrictions are lifted and things like that, what a nice, simple, sort of refreshing salad to do at home. And then again, if you just for a little bit of indulgence, you could just use a little bit of olive oil on it, okay, which again brings out a little bit of flavour with the cheese, and you can even put a little bit of black pepper on there for another sort of like heat or texture to it, okay. And that is pretty much it, guys. So you have our nice simple watermelon and feta salad, okay. So something else to be thinking about, and obviously you can enhance it with different meats such as Parma ham, okay, cured meats and sort of salty bacons, okay. But there's another nice simple dish for you guys. All right, so you can crack back on with what we were doing. Right, guys, so all we'll do is we'll go through how to finish the actual carrot cake cupcakes, okay? And then you guys can obviously get on at your leisure for completing these dishes, okay? I know I've sort of gone through them quite quick, but it just makes it a little bit easier. So what we're going to do then is we're going to make a cream cheese frosting, okay? Simple process of putting it together. You're going to take your butter, okay? So the butter should be sort of at room temperature. It should be starting to go nice and soft, okay? It makes it a little bit easier to work with. So if yours is still really hard when you get around to doing it, what you're going to do, if the butter's, you could pop the butter in the microwave for a couple of seconds, okay? Because mine was on a little metal flat, I just put it on the hot plate for a couple of seconds, but obviously use heat cloth, health and safety. So what we've got is our butter in there, okay? And you can just obviously press it to check that it's pliable with the back of the wooden spoon. And then we've got our icing sugar, okay? And then we're going to put this in. Now, as you can see, guys, even just tipping it into the next bowl creates almost like this sugar cloud, doesn't it? And it goes everywhere. So you'll notice I've got a machine on the bench, but we're not going to quite use the machine just yet. What we need to do is just gently start pressing it to start with, okay? Again, you're trying to do this without wearing it. Callum, just, okay? So you're trying to do this without wearing it to start with, so just start giving this that little bit of a mix. And then what you can also do is you can add your vanilla, okay? By adding a little bit of vanilla, not only adding flavour, we're adding obviously a little bit of liquid, so it'll obviously help dissolve the icing sugar at this point. So it's just the inner circle of the cap with the icing sugar, okay? So we just give this a quick mix, and at first it's going to look like quite a crumbly mixture, okay? But as we start breaking this down and then switch to the machine, it'll become a lot easier to work with. So at the moment, just got a crumbly mixture there, okay? But obviously, as long as you've got a wooden spoon and a mixing bowl or any type of spoon, you can do this. Some people, even because they find it hard to mix it, sometimes put it in a food bag and almost squash and massage the bag from the outside. So that's another way you could potentially do it. So as you can see now, we've got a butter, almost like this butter paste now, haven't we? No big powdery icing sugar anymore. And then what we'll do is we'll switch to the electric machine if you have one, okay? Otherwise, you just keep beating it by hand. This will just save me a bit of time. So we give it full speed, just get this mixing. And the more you mix it, the more pale, it'll go more paler in colour, okay? It'll start to go white because of obviously the quantity of icing sugar in there. The icing sugar is pretty much almost double the butter content for obviously flavour. You want it to taste sweet, not just of butter or margarine, so to speak. Margarine is an example, which is a common fault. People use margarine in the actual butter icing, and that's why it collapses on the top, okay? Because it doesn't quite have the fat content of butter. So you should really use butter for butter icing, okay? You can use margarine for making the sponge cake as an alternative to butter, if you're using that type of recipe, but you should use butter for butter icing. Right then, so we've just give that a little mix to start with, and then what we're going to do is we're going to add sort of half of our cream cheese, okay? So it's really, really important that you follow the process there of mixing that, because if we put it all in together at the beginning, more than likely the cream cheese would split with the butter, okay? So quite important. So back on the mixer, incorporate these ingredients, and you'll notice it started to change colour, but it's also getting looser now as well because of the cream cheese. So we'll just switch that off again, and as you can see, it's starting to change even more now, okay? So it's starting to go pale, obviously starting to get bigger volume, and that first part of the cream cheese is obviously just loosened it up a little bit, and then we put the other half in, okay? So just put them there for a moment, and then we just need to again whip this. Is there a tall jug on that? No, sorry. So again, just mix this, get it all combined. Okay. And we've basically got, oh no, sorry, Corey, it doesn't matter. And then we've basically got our cream cheese mix. Yes, thank you. So we've got our cream cheese mix, and obviously just take our mixture off, and then what you can do is you can just get a jug. Obviously these are disposable piping bags, really easy to get hold of, or you could even just use it again like a thick food bag and just snip the corner off the food bag and just put it through. I've obviously put like a star nozzle in there, but if you don't have a star nozzle, again, you can just pipe it. Or some people like to just put the topping on by using a palette knife or a knife. Spread the mixture in a circular movement on the top of your cakes. And then what I'll do is I'll obviously use a spatula, just obviously get all of our mix, and just by putting it over the jug, and obviously in times at the moment where we have to social distance, you can't exactly ask someone to hold the jug for you, or hold the piping bag while you do it. So just by putting it over the jug like that, it makes life a little bit easier. And then all we do is we just take the bag and just let gravity play its part. You want to try and make sure that there's minimal air in the bag as well, okay? Otherwise it just sort of splutters out and can make a little bit of the mess of your presentation. And then what we're going to do at this point is take our cakes, okay? And then we're just going to, nice and simple, so have the bag really tight, okay? Now I'm right-handed, okay, so I naturally tend to put my hand underneath. Putting it over the top, you block your view of the actual cake itself, so hand underneath, and then really tightly twisted. And every time I squeeze a little bit out, I turn the bag again, okay? I always readjust. So as you can see then, you can just literally squeeze this mixture around, okay? And then you'll notice I started in the middle as well, okay? And just literally, you'll notice every time I do it, I readjust the bag, twist it again, okay? And you've just got that amazing control of the bag then, okay? And then we just got our simple decoration like that. And then we're just, for a modern twist, which is a current trend, lotus biscuits seem to be used everywhere, okay? So you've got your traditional carrot cake, and then obviously we can take our lotus biscuits. They're on offer at the moment actually in the shops. You can pick up a packet of lotus biscuits for 99 pence, okay? So not that they last long in my house, but you can pick up packets of these quite cheap at the moment, because sometimes they can be twice the price of that, can't they? So then obviously a little bit of that biscuit on the top of each one. Always trying, if we're having them consistent, you want the writing the same way and you want the biscuit at the same angle. And then what I've took is just our lotus caramel spread, okay? Obviously quite expensive in the shops, isn't it, so to speak? Is it about £2 to £3 for a little jar like that? But again, in moderation, if you buy it once, it should last a long time, okay? Unless you're indulgent and guilty of eating it every day. And then all I've done is I've just loosened a little bit of it up for sort of 10 seconds in the microwave. Or you could even just do this over a pan of hot water, holding the bowl above the hot water, and then just literally just drizzle this over the top, okay? And then you've got your nice carrot cake cupcakes with obviously your twist with your lotus biscuits and caramel, okay? And there we go, guys. So what do you think? Yeah. And then just as an example, guys, obviously when you're going to take your photographs as an example, you could just take one of our display stands, okay, and just pop these. So that you've seen it, I did it yesterday on social media with one of the other groups, okay? And you can just literally get your photograph of them on a stand as an example, okay? And obviously if you're having friends around once you're officially allowed, or in the garden as an example, there's your little stand with your cupcakes however you're going to do it for entertaining. Okay guys, so your turn now. All right, all down to you.